Here I am in Fort Morgan Riverside Cemetery, Thanksgiving Day 2023. There's a sugar factory over there. It's still an operating sugar factory, and they're processing beets at this time, and you can really smell that processing. I don't know if you ever smelled how sugar beets are processed, but man, they kind of stinks. Believe it or not, my parents are buried right over there in that area there. But I wanted to talk about a guy, science fiction writer, who is buried here next to his twin sister, Philip K. Dick. He had a twin sister. She only survived 6 weeks, December 16, 1928 to January 26, 1929. He died March 2nd, 1982, but they were twins, and he is actually buried next to his grandparents. And some other relatives. This is all the Dick family here. But Philip K. Dick, you guys know, he wrote 44 novels, 121 short stories. His grandparents, he lived here in Fort Morgan. Some of the movies that were made from his books: Total Recall, Blade Runner, Minority Report, Man in the High Castle. Did you guys ever watch Man in the High Castle? I think it ran for 3 seasons on Amazon. And anyway, that show was about how the Allies lost the war, World War II, and the United States was broken up. On the East Coast, east side, Germany ran the United States, while the West Coast was run by Japan. And it was kind of a dystopian story, but it was a very interesting story. The first 2 seasons were excellent. The 3rd season wasn't too great, so I kind of bailed out at the 3rd season. But yeah, Total Recall, Blade Runner, Minority Report, and there's a lot of others too. You might wonder why he's buried here in Fort Morgan of all places. They were born, him and his sister were born in Chicago, 1928, and they were born 6 weeks premature, so he had weighed 4.5 pounds. His sister weighed 3.5 pounds, and his sister had a hard time. She didn't eat much. She couldn't eat much, and they were trying to find a formula, you know, to bulk her up, but it seemed like they could not. They took a trip out here to Fort Morgan to see their grandparents, and unfortunately, his sister Jane died, so they buried her here in Fort Morgan. And Philip K. Dick lived 50 years longer. So that's how she became. Another story is that possibly they knew they were moving from Chicago to San Francisco, and so they knew that the baby should be buried here with the grandparents in Fort Morgan rather than Chicago. So maybe they shipped the body to here, Fort Morgan. But the story goes that they traveled here to see the grandparents, and unfortunately the baby died here in Fort Morgan. And Philip K. Dick, yeah, and great science fiction writer, always wrote about dystopian type situations where the world is kind of in a dystopia, and the government kind of has a hard handle on its citizens and making life miserable for its citizens. It's kind of getting similar to what today's getting, right? To me. And In the early 1970s, he had a tooth abscess, and he was on medication, and there's this girl showed up at his house. She had dark hair. She had a necklace on. The necklace was an early Christian symbol, the fish. Remember the fish? He answered the door, and the sun shined on that necklace, and a little pink light flashed into his eyes, and he kind of had a religious experience. And since that, it had affected his life. And not only that, losing his sister at a young age, when she was a baby, affected his whole life. Sometimes stories where he died and she continued to live. And he has different stories where he had a phantom twin that showed up in his stories. And sometimes he thought that maybe he was the result why she died. He kind of blamed himself too. But also in the late 70s, he was giving a speech in France, and he came up with this theory. And he says it might be bull crap too, this theory, but it might be right too. He said that this world is a computer simulation, and we are living in a computer simulation. And he came up with that idea way back in the 70s, way before anybody else did. That's pretty amazing. I hope not. I hope we don't live in a simulation. I hope we live in God's simulation. But yeah, he finally died of he had a few mini strokes and then finally died. His eyesight was strangely just diminishing. He never did go to the doctor for some reason. And finally he just went to sleep one night, never did wake up due to a stroke. And he was only 53 years old, which is way too young to die. Excellent science fiction writer. Go check out his books. It's a strange book I tried to read. I still have a copy. The Exegesis of Philip K. Dick. And very complicated book. The guy had a very complicated mind, definitely. But he's buried here in Fort Morgan, Colorado. This is the town that I grew up in. Way over here behind that Walmart truck is my old school, Columbine School. Columbine Elementary. I went to that school. It seems like so long ago, but it also seems such a short time ago. I'm at the age right now where Philip K. Dick died, 53. Let's see, what else could I tell you about Philip K. Dick? His parents divorced. His parents worked for the Department of Agriculture, and they kept getting changing cities due to their jobs. They started off in Chicago, then they went on to San Francisco, and then his dad, Joseph, was transferred to Reno, Nevada, and that's when his wife says, "I'm not going to go to Reno, Nevada. I'm tired of changing our homes." And then they got a divorce. So I'm sure that affected him as well. But excellent writer, Philip K. Dick, buried next to his twin sister. Blade Runner, Total Recall, Minority Report, Man in the High Castle, all movies and shows based off of his books. And Man in the High Castle was that was a very amazing show. You guys need to check that out. There's a storm coming in from the west. It's supposed to snow 4 to 8 inches here in Colorado. Something to look forward to. The other day I was out at Fort St. Vrain in my short sleeve shirt. It was 65 degrees. Now, right now, the wind chill I bet is 30 degrees. All right, this is George Sawtooth signing off. On to the next video.